Last week, we strolled down the red carpet into the world of Mommy Dearest, into the nightmare of Mommy Dearest. We had a very special guest with us, our sweet mama, and It was so much fun having her on the show. I can't wait till she comes back for another one.
Oh, right. It really was fun, though. If you missed it, definitely go back and check it out. It's worth a listen. But today, we're moving from motherly meltdowns to martial arts master classes.
That's right. We're heading into one of the most iconic underdog stories of all time. A movie that had every kid wanting to learn karate and balance on one leg.
We're talking about The Karate Kid.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Missy. And this is Real Sisters Rewind.
Join us as we go back to the 80s. Welcome to Real Sisters Rewind, back to the 80s. If you're new here, we're two sisters who love great films, especially from the greatest decade of all time. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Missy. And every week we jump back into some of the best movies from the 80s, rewatching, reliving, and remembering why we fell in love with them in the first place.
That's right. And today we have a very special guest with us, Marcus Dempsey, who actually comes to us by way of my husband, Eric. And they are friends. And he happens to be from California and is also into martial arts. So I would like to welcome you, Marcus. We are so excited. You're welcome.
Yeah,
and I have to tell everybody, and Missy knows this too, that Eric claimed this spot for you a couple of months ago. He
longer
told
than
us,
that, Amanda.
Yeah.
Longer than that. Yeah.
He said Marcus has to do this. So Marcus, tell us a little bit about yourself and why Eric claimed this movie for you.
So I would think that most people that know me pretty well would claim this movie for me. I've been doing martial arts since I was a little kid. I was definitely the kid that wanted to be the Karate Kid, Ninja Turtle, samurai, warrior, Jedi master. I did all that stuff. I've been doing martial arts since I was, I don't know, maybe like 9 or so years old, and the swords and the ninja moves and the kick flips. And now, fast forward, I'm a real life adult, and I own a martial arts academy. I've been coaching martial arts for, I don't know, probably 20 plus years now, and I've competed all over the country, and I've had the fortune to train people all over the world, from seminars of hundreds of people to, just private lessons with little old men that want to just stay in good shape, and kids and everything in between. Taught for the military. I've taught civilian contractors. I've just been involved in martial arts my whole life. And so it's definitely shaped me into, or been one of the factors that shaped me into the person I am today. And yeah, I'm as big a nerd about this movie and all other martial arts movies growing up as I guess anybody can get.
I love it. I'm going to have to get your info, Marcus, because my oldest son, he really would have loved to have been on here as well. He has been crazy about martial arts since he was a little boy. And I believe that on his bucket list is owning a martial arts studio and doing training and stuff. So maybe you can give him some encouragement. But we love hearing that. And we're so excited to have you here today. You need to know, Amanda and I are not sporty girls. And so we need someone here who knows a thing or two about the subject, don't we, sister?
Yes. Anytime we have sports movies, we bring on someone like our husbands or someone who knows more about it to talk with us about that topic. I do want to ask you this, Marcus. Is your academy here in New Orleans?
It is, yeah. So my academy is called Science of Jiu-Jitsu. And we've been open for 5 years. We opened in 2020. And a lot of people, including my wife, were like, "You're going to do what? People don't want to shake hands right now. And you want to teach people how to throw each other and choke them unconscious and such. And I said, babe, well, you're right. About 50% of the world right now doesn't want to shake hands. I said, but the other 50% are kind of ready to get out and go do
Yeah.
some things. And so I think it'll be all right, and we'll see how it goes. I own some other things, and it wasn't like our meal ticket was riding on the gym. It
Yeah.
was a passion project that I had always wanted to do and had the opportunity. And so, yeah, so Science and Jiu-Jitsu is in Harvey. So it's on the West Bank. I know it's a little bit far for some people who don't want to drive, but we've been open for 5 years now, and it's been pretty awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited. We're going to have a lot of questions for you during this
Okay. Hey, listen,
this
I'm
talk.
I'm excited to talk about the movie and all that. Like you said, you bring people on who are kind of like subject matter experts on the thing, and my wife would not do your job, right? If she were to like watch a movie with me, she hates watching things like that, fighting movies or like military movies or anything like that, because I always go, oh, that's not real. Well, they wouldn't do that. That's a bad
Yeah.
idea. Why would?
Yeah.
She's like,
Me
I'm
too.
just
I
trying
would
to
be in
enjoy
that
the movie.
camp.
Yeah,
I would be in that camp.
she'd be like, sit down and just be quiet. Just let me watch it.
Just enjoy the movie.
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
before we jump into all things Karate Kid, if you're enjoying this podcast, it would mean so much to us if you would subscribe and leave a review for us on the podcast app. And while you're there, we'd appreciate it if you could give us a 5-star rating too. And if you do, take a screenshot and send it to hello@realsistersrewind.com, and we will be sending you a Real Sister sticker for those reviews.
That's right. We're spreading the 80s love one sticker at a time. And I thought, Amanda, I might highlight the countries that are part of our international listeners. We have listeners from the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Singapore, Russia, Spain, South Africa, Australia, Belgium, Italy, Oman, Turkey, Austria, and Brazil. So, hello, globe.
And that's that's
Oh,
not every country.
oh, you're right. You're right. My list, I didn't turn it over. We've got the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Switzerland, Germany, Dominican Republic, Mexico, Peru, and El Salvador. There
Yes.
you go.
So thanks to all of our United States listeners, but also our listeners all over the world.
That's right.
So incredible.
And this is a movie that spans all
globe.
cultures and the globe. So
That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
So with Marcus here, Amanda, I think we are ready to wax on, wax off, and talk all things Karate Kid.
That's right. But before we dive into the movie itself, let's rewind back to 1984. Marcus, we like to go back and take a look back at that time period before we talk about the movie.
Okay.
And we're going to see what was happening when the Karate Kid hit theaters.
The Karate Kid was released on June 22nd, 1984. I was 15 years old, and Amanda, you were 7, I think. Do you know how old you were, Marcus? And do you remember the first time you saw it? Did you see it in theaters?
I did not see it in theaters. I didn't see it for a few years later, actually. So I wasn't alive when the Karate Kid came out. I was born in 1985, actually.
Oh
So
my
just a little
gosh.
while afterwards.
Stop it
Yeah,
right now.
I
not
could have
kidding. Yeah, so
babysat you.
you could have, yeah, you may have. I don't know. Yeah, no. So I didn't see it when it came out. But some of my favorite movies are from that year because I think Return of the Jedi came out in 1984 as well. Um, so those are two really great movies. That speaks to the testament of does it stand the test of time. I don't know if that's something we'll talk about later, but for sure, I mean, this film has affected people over generations.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I think the first time I saw it was probably, man, I might have been like 5 or 6. I was little. I remember karate kicking around the house, doing the crane kick and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Amanda, do you remember the first time you saw it? Because
I
you
do.
might have seen it in
I
theaters.
did. I did.
You did.
So
Okay.
Karate Kid, the original and part two were both very vivid memories of mine that I did see in theaters. I know sometimes I'm like, I don't know, maybe I saw it on HBO, but I definitely saw this. I do think that you and a friend maybe took me with some kids that she babysat.
Yes,
This is
I was
another one of
thinking that
those.
as well, but we hadn't talked
Hmm.
about it off of
Hmm.
mic. And so,
It
yes.
was absolutely like I loved this movie so much. Like I think it might be one of the first movies where I felt the like where you actually are like so invested in that character and so excited and cheering them on and just really really into it. I really loved. I remember being in theater. I think it was at Broadacres.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think it
And
was
I would
Broadacres.
say I thought that that's what we had done. I thought I saw it with younger kids in the theater. And I remember like I thought it was fine. I didn't love it
Hmm.
necessarily at the time, but I'm excited to talk about the rewatch for sure.
And it was in June. It was like we went during the day. Like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah,
y'all were
we went to a
babysitting, and it
matinee.
was like,
Yeah,
let's go to a
that's
movie. Yep.
exactly
Hmm.
right. Hmm.
Yep. Well, when the movie came out, The Reflex by Duran Duran was
The
at the
reflex.
flex,
Na,
flex,
na,
flex, flex,
na,
flex,
na,
flex.
na. Yep.
First of all, sidebar, I love Duran Duran to this day. It was at the top of the American Top 40, and their music was the videos were all the rage on MTV, and they were considered one of the coolest bands of the decade. And like I said, still love Duran Duran, like seriously. Um, they were just everywhere. They were all over the radio and the record store. They were just everywhere. But I do need to just give a little blurb here. I don't know if you noticed this or not when y'all watched the movie, but the at the beginning of the movie, we got a little Cruel Summer from
Oh, yes.
Bananarama.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Great song. Way to kick off the movie for sure.
Yeah.
But I will say, sister, I've never been a big Duran Duran fan for sure. What about you, Marcus? Do you like a little Duran Duran?
Never been a big Duran Duran fan. I know the songs were popular and all, but no, there were other '80s bands that I was into. I was definitely like the Michael Jackson,
Oh, yeah.
loving that kind of stuff. As I got older, I got more into '80s rock and what have you. But yeah, as a little kid, for sure, I was all into the like doing the cool moves and the
Oh, yeah,
moonwalk and
for
everything.
sure. For sure. Well, on television at that time was one of my favorite shows, Dynasty. Are you familiar with those type of shows, Marcus? Like the
No, I don't think so.
Dynasty, the Dallas? You are a baby,
Okay.
my friend.
He's
So
a
I'm a
baby.
baby.
imagine
Yeah,
it.
I'm a baby.
It's like a
Yeah.
nighttime soap opera, and they were
Okay.
all like wealthy, and it was drama, and they had big hair and bigger shoulder pads and even bigger drama. And
Yeah.
all of my friend group, we would turn in each week to see what scandal was unfolding. But Amanda, I'm thinking, although I know you liked to kind of watch the big girl shows with me, I'm thinking
Loved
that
it.
this was your like Smurf days, yes?
Oh yeah, yeah. And let me just say one more thing about the Dynasty, the nighttime soaps. I feel like they were all, maybe not all, but Dallas and Dynasty for sure, around this idea of like big oil, like
Big
oil in the
family money.
80s. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, because one was
Exactly.
in Denver and one was in Dallas.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I feel
remember
like
Dallas. I remember the Dallas show.
Who
I
shot
don't
JR?
remember
That
the
was a big
whole
thing. You,
movie, but yeah, right.
yeah.
Like I remember that show. Not in depth. I didn't watch the whole series, but I do remember that. But Dynasty was not. I was
yeah.
Well, it's
beyond
so
me.
funny, Marcus, because we didn't watch Dallas because we didn't get CBS.
So we didn't get
And
to watch that.
imagine a time
Oh
where
my
you
God.
had three stations, ABC and
Yes.
NBC and CBS, and we didn't get CBS. So we don't really know
My
about
kids.
those shows.
My kids don't know how good they have it. I'm
I
sure most kids
know.
don't know how good they have it. We were the remote control. Like,
Yes,
hey,
you had to
go
get
click
up
the
and
top
change the
button.
channel.
You had to go change the dial on the top, and then for the
Yes.
certain set of channels you had to change the bottom dial too. So I don't know
That's
if you guys had the
exactly right.
TV with two dials.
Yes. I'm
And,
surprised
yeah,
you
and
remember that.
Oh, that's
yeah, yeah,
funny.
and
That's
the bunny
true.
ears. You got to move the bunny ears, right? Like
Yep.
That's right. That's right.
You got to get them just right so that
that's
you
right.
could watch. Absolutely. But I
If it was
did.
worn out, then you'd have to kind of hold it, you know.
That's right. Just stand there and hold it.
That's right.
I don't know, Marcus, you may remember this, but I was a huge Smurf fan, and but Smurfs obviously was not a nighttime show. It was Saturday mornings,
Saturday
and
Saturday
morning
morning. Yeah.
cartoons.
it
You know,
was
I miss
everything.
those.
You
Man,
missed them.
well, so it's just the idea of like family TV time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like we're
Yeah.
talking about even the nighttime shows, right? Like there were you had your late night shows, you had the news. The news was always a staple of like family time.
Yep.
And then you had like certain shows that hey, don't mess with mom. That's her time to watch her show, right? Like just
Yes.
go
Some
like leave
things
her
don't
alone during that.
change.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And then Saturday morning was like, I don't have school. I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna eat this bowl of cereal, which is probably not very good for me anyway. But you know, we look at it now and we go, "Oh man, all the sugar." As a kid,
Dyes and
that was
sugar.
gold.
That's
You're
right.
on the couch watching. What was? Oh man, was it like? Oh man, like Conjunction Junction and stuff. What was it?
Yes.
You know what I'm
Oh,
talking about? I can't think of it right now. Schoolhouse Rock,
yes.
Oh
right?
Schoolhouse
yeah.
Rock.
And
Yep.
like Smurfs and like Thundercats and like these things would like come up and you were
That was
that was
it.
perfect. Saturday morning was the best day of the week.
That's right. You
Yes.
get your blanket, you get your cereal. But you know what, Marcus? It was okay that we were eating that sugary cereal because we would be going outside after that and we'd be outside
Yeah,
playing all day. So it was fun.
That's right.
absolutely. Now,
Well,
as a parent, now I realize why they told us like go outside and play and don't come back until like the street light comes on. You have a lot. You have what, three, right? Three kids.
we have four. I have
You
four
have four. Yeah.
between Eric and I. Yes, we have four.
So I got two, and with my two, sometimes I'm just like, there's too much noise in here. Get out of the house.
Yeah.
Go outside. Leave me
Yep,
alone.
I
Now I
know.
can understand from the parents' perspective how they were like, y'all go outside. Don't
Yep,
slam my door. Go outside. Don't come back inside. None of this in and out. Leave me alone.
that's
Because
right.
they got some peace and quiet.
Exactly. And could do the things they needed to do.
Yeah.
Well, if you picked up a People magazine during this week, you would have seen Jackie O on the front, still looking absolutely stunning. And it's talking about her being a working woman and getting her own coffee and standing in line at the copier. But here's the thing that I want to point out is that she is the big cover. But above her in the corner to the left, I'm going to have to share this with y'all. We have a little picture of Boy George.
Oh yes.
And uh, Missy, we've got to share the story about our dad and the music award
Oh
show.
yeah, for sure. I mean, Daddy loved the song "Karma Chameleon," and I mean, this is a man who loved Conway Twitty, right? But he loved this song, that
Like
"Karma, Karma,
loved
Karma,
it.
Karma, Karma Chameleon." He
Yes.
kept saying, "I love that song." Well, then the music award show comes on, and Boy George walks out, and
Was
it
he
was
shocked?
like Dad was pissed that he liked that guy. He was a long way from Conway Twitty,
It was
and
not what he
it was
expected.
not what he expected at all. But man,
Yeah.
Boy George, he grabs your heart for sure. He's great,
Funny.
great
But
musician.
it just goes to say to the times of that time period too, like he wouldn't have seen him. It's not like he would have seen him on social media or on entertainment or like he would have not known what he looked like.
Right, that's
So
true.
it's really funny, but he walked out and was really not
Yeah.
happy that that was Boy
Your dad was
George.
probably not watching MTV.
No,
You
No,
know, it was
absolutely
absolutely not.
not.
very new, very new. You know, the concept of music videos was super new. Prior to that, people were only watching things on like the Sullivan Show or like a
That's right.
performance on a late night
The
show or
nighttime
something.
shows. That's right.
Yeah, if you were watching that, the radio is what you had, you know?
Yeah.
That's right.
So you're right. He probably didn't know, and what a shock, right?
He was
Just
shocked.
imagine
He
he was
was.
in Mississippi, right? He's the older
That's
guy in
right.
Mississippi. He's like,
That's right.
well, look
No.
at that, look at this guy.
Yeah, for sure.
He
For
might as well
sure.
look like a circus clown to that.
Yeah. Well, in 1984, the big rage of toys was Transformers. Those were the robots that could turn into cars and trucks, and there was
Yes.
nothing cooler than that. Did you have a Transformer, either one of you?
I did
Yes.
not.
And
Yes.
Marcus says he did. Absolutely. I really didn't
Absolutely.
doubt that a little boy would have a
100%.
Transformer growing up.
100%. Transformers were awesome. And at the time, that's such a far-fetched futuristic thing of robots. And it was like Voltron. I'm surprised that's not on the list anywhere either, because Voltron was actually pre Transformers and really big at the time too. But yeah, just the idea of cool car, these robots turn into and they start fighting.
Yep.
And that's another one you could, man, look and say, look at the test of time, because my kid is into all the Transformers movies, and when he was that same age range,
Yeah.
all into it. We still had Transformers in the house,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, I remember them. I never had any, but I remember they had the cartoons and everything. Well, in technology, this is so crazy, y'all. The Apple Macintosh had just been released earlier that year. And it was a chunky little computer with this little tiny screen, but y'all, it changed everything about personal computing. And I'm not going to, obviously, you're not going to be able to see it right now, but I'm definitely going to put this link on our social media this week for this commercial. It was a Super Bowl ad introducing the Apple Macintosh computer, and it is the weirdest commercial.
Oh,
It's
really?
like it's very, very futuristic and almost kind of scary. And like there's a guy in it on the screen who's like talking to all these people. It's all like black and white. He kind of looks like some sort of like communist ruler or something. And I don't know.
It's really
It's really dark and so weird.
And so different
weird.
from Apple now.
Yes.
Well, just to kind of wrap up a few things, other things that were going on real quick. At that time, we were preparing for the Summer Olympics in LA, and everyone, Whoppers from Burger King were the big deal for people who were out enjoying a fast food dinner.
Amazing. Sorry,
yeah. 84 was a big year. I forgot about the Olympics. That was a really big one in LA, and there were a lot of other films and things like that that came out that year that were really big too. That were kind of blockbuster hits, right? Like Ghostbusters came out, right? With
Yeah.
Slimer and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and what was the one with Gremlins, right?
Yes, that's
Gremlins,
right.
Yeah, it was a
They get
summer
wet and
movie,
they
but it
turn-
was Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
We
right.
actually covered that over the
A
Christmas
little while back.
holidays.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Well, I always have to get in a
Gizmo.
little. Yes, I always have to get in a little bit about President Reagan because I treasure him in my heart. And he delivered a major speech at Normandy for the 40th anniversary of D-Day around this time.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
Yes, and it was probably lovely.
Yes, I'm sure it was. Well, let's dive into some fascinating facts about Karate Kid because there's a lot of good stuff behind the scenes. So let's go.
All right. Well, first off, the runtime clocks in at just over 2 hours, which is a little longer than we'd like, sister.
A little bit
2
longer.
hours and 6 minutes to be exact, but it didn't seem long to me.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It definitely seemed outside of our sweet spot to me. Like I paused the remote control to see how much time was left. And it was rated PG, which makes sense, right? It definitely had some fighting and some of those teenage themes, but nothing like so over the top. It was definitely the kind of movie kids could watch. Obviously, I took you and other kids we were babysitting. And we all went in flocks to see it.
And loved it.
That's
Well,
right.
when it comes to money, this is interesting. They made this movie on a budget of about $8 million, and it brought in over 90 million at the box office
What
just
is that?
yeah,
That's a
just in the
great
US.
question.
Oh,
That would be so much more today.
I have it right here because I wanted to know that myself, and it's over 280 million today.
Oh, wow.
hmm
Yeah, it was definitely a blockbuster.
No wonder they wanted to have part two.
That's right. Well, the
Yeah,
cast of the Karate Kid was pretty much perfect. You had you had Ralph Macchio playing Daniel LaRusso, and then Pat, is it Morita? Is that the way you pronounce it? Do either one of you
I think
guys
that's
know?
right.
Pat
I
Morita.
think so.
Yeah.
And he brought Mr. Miyagi to life in a way that absolutely still touches hearts today. We had Elizabeth Shue. We talked about her on our cocktail rewatch. And this was actually her film debut as Allie Mills. She was Daniel's love interest. And William Zabka was the perfect bully as Johnny Lawrence. I thought he was the perfect bully because he almost looked like he could cry at any minute and he was trying to be mean, which made it worse. And of course, he was the leader of Cobra Kai. And then we had Martin Cove, who played the tough, no mercy, Sensei Kreese, running Cobra Kai like it was a military boot camp. Is that the way you run your school, Marcus?
No, that's not it. But I'll tell you what, growing up and doing martial arts, there definitely was a lot more of a militant undertone, I would say, to the way that they did things, the discipline of it. There's more than one way to gain discipline. And I remember that, at least as a kid, being like standing up tall, yes, sir, and no, sir, and bowing. And I think that has a lot to do with the way that Americans kind of perceived or came in contact with Asian martial arts, right?
Yeah.
It usually was wartime, and so I think that influence got brought back to America in the '60s, '50s, and '60s, post World War II era, because some of it came back with World War II, but a lot of it came back with the Korean War
Yeah.
and what have you. So
That's true.
It was very interesting. I think one of the interesting things about the movie, and I know it's obviously there to make a point, but to what you're speaking to, Marcus, and the difference between Mr. Miyagi's perspective of
and his
karate,
discipline.
Yeah,
versus the sensei. Like
Yes.
yeah.
So I thought that was a really interesting
I
thing
have to say, the sensei reminds me of Will Ferrell, even though I know he's not funny at all. I just like looked at him and I saw Will Ferrell. So
So I think
Well,
those two actors were actually kind of the driver in the presentation of the film, because Pat Morita was actually known for Cheers prior to him being Mr. Miyagi, but he was known as an actor.
really, well, I
And
know he
then
was on Happy Days. He was Arnold on Happy Days. And actually I think he was kind of this kind of kooky character on Happy Days. And so I think they were hesitant in casting
to give
him,
him the
worried that
serious
he
role,
wouldn't be taken seriously.
oh, he was so
yeah,
great.
because Ralph was still relatively new and not really. I don't think he had a lot of films under his belt
Right,
at that
right.
stage. And like you said, Elizabeth was new, so they were kind of fresh faced and new to the audience. And Martin Cove had done a few different things. I feel like he had done a couple of movies actually, but I could be wrong.
Well, he's great. I feel like the cast was just perfect for this movie and some major award recognition. Actually, Pat Morita, who we were just talking about, played Mr. Miyagi, was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor.
I'd say they took him seriously. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I think he sold that. Of all the characters in the world of film, I mean, some are just so perfectly cast. I couldn't imagine anybody else at that
Doing
time
it.
being
Sure.
Mr. Miyagi. And I mean, the effect that I think that poor man was probably Mr. Miyagi everywhere he went in the world for the rest of his life.
I know.
And
I
he
agree.
also was up for a Golden Globe too, Amanda.
Yeah, he was for both. He had this great like kindness about him, but also like seriousness.
Yeah.
So he
Very
was just
stoic kind of character. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, actually, Elizabeth Shue also she won a Young Artist Award for her performance as Allie.
Not too
in
bad
this
for a
film.
first go.
I actually thought she was really good in the movie.
Yeah, I did too. I thought she was great. And when it comes to fun facts and behind the scenes trivia, this movie really is loaded. First of all, Ralph Macchio, who played Daniel, was actually 22 years old during filming. And I have to tell y'all, when I was watching this movie, I was like, he's playing a high schooler. She looked much older, which I know girls often do at that time, but I thought he looked like a junior high kid.
Totally. I thought he was like an 8th grader. I
Yeah.
cannot believe he was 22. I was like,
know.
he's 14 max.
Yeah, I thought he was really young.
So, you know, the scene, I know we're going to do the scene by scene, but it's like towards the end where he like, maybe it was their first kiss or hug or something. I don't know, but he was taller than her, but you could only see them from like chest up. I was like, he's totally standing on a box. Like there's,
He may have been.
Well, here is another little interesting tidbit. And Marcus, you're going to probably be like, yeah, of course, we martial arts experts know this. But that famous crane kick that he does at the end is not actually an ancient karate move. It was created for the movie. They wanted a signature moment that would be both dramatic and memorable, and it worked clearly.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, Marcus, but at all of the playgrounds that I played on, everyone was trying to balance and do the crane kick.
If there was a tree stump,
somebody was on it.
Somebody was on it for sure.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
The action with the arms and the doing all that stuff. Actually, yeah, that part's all made up. Nobody does that anywhere. But the hopping from one foot to the other and doing the snap kick, you can find that in karate and different like kicking martial arts. But the whole like doing the wings and like go down like with the swan wings and he bends down and he lifts up and then pop and snap. You know, yeah, it's almost like it's the 1980s version of Reese Witherspoon.
Legally Blonde.
You know,
the bend and snap. That's hilarious. Yeah. That's hilarious. Well, you could have fooled everyone back then because we all thought that it was an ancient karate move.
That's right.
For
ancient
sure.
Chinese secret.
Yeah. At like 6 or 7 years old, I was jumping off of the couch, the arm on the couch, the coffee table. You know, you're just in the backyard standing on a paver. You're like, that's high enough. I can do it all here.
That's right.
You're just trying to jump. That scene in and of itself, not kidding, set in motion another 25 years of me taking pictures at the beach, standing on top of stuff, doing kicks.
That's hysterical.
Not kidding. I probably have
hysterical.
a dozen pictures of me kicking.
You're going to have to share one with us.
Yes, we want to see a picture on social. But the thing about it is, it wasn't a real skill.
Wasn't a real thing, no.
It's all that time practicing, and it wasn't even a real skill. Well, speaking of real skills, the referee in the final tournament scene was Pat E. Johnson, who was a real life martial arts expert and fight choreographer. So
he did all the fight scenes in the.
Yes. So you know about this. That's amazing.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty known thing for people once you get into like martial arts, and of course you nerd out on different movies and such. So yeah, that was something that I found out later on, and it's like, oh wow. And so the guy with the mustache.
Yeah.
Right? He was the guy with the mustache in the referee scene. Yep.
It's very cool.
Well, here's my favorite fascinating fact is that the yellow 1948 Ford Super Deluxe that Mr. Miyagi gives to Daniel, Ralph Macchio kept it and he still owns it today.
I love that.
That's awesome.
I know.
That's the perk of being in movies.
That's
Well,
right.
I was just about to say, I think sometimes you have to like sneak stuff. That's pretty impressive that they let him keep it.
Yeah. I bet it's his
Yeah.
prized possession.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I love it so much. It's just really a cool piece of movie history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just parked right in his garage that
That's
he can be
right.
like, he'll be like,
Come on out to
come
the
see.
museum.
Yeah, yeah. All right, y'all, let's step onto the mat and walk through the Karate Kid scene by scene.
Well, the movie opens up with Daniel LaRusso, as we've been talking about, played by the great Ralph Macchio, and his mom, Lucille. They are leaving Newark, New Jersey for a brand new start in Reseda, California. Is that how I say it? Reseda? No,
No,
wrong.
Reseda.
Reseda. Okay. You're welcome, real fans, for a Mississippi twang on that. But anyway, like most teenagers would be in having a move, Daniel isn't exactly thrilled about it, but he promises his mom he's going to try and make the best of it.
Okay, I have to just pause you here, Missy. Do you know the Tom Petty song where he
About
says, "Living in Reseda, there's a free falling. There's a
well, I do
free
know
way."
that
That's
song
it.
now that you
But
got
No,
to the
that's
main verse, but I
but
didn't
now that
know.
I'm saying, now you'll remember. You'll know
Yeah, I'll
that's how
remember.
I knew it. That's the
Reseda.
only way.
Okay, got it.
That's the only
Got
way I
it.
knew it was from the song. So
free falling. Yep.
that's right. As they settle into their apartment complex, Daniel makes a fast friend. And I say fast friend like
I
he
have to
bumps into him
pause for a
immediately.
second. I have to
What?
pause for a second. When they are making that trip across the country in that car, did you not think of like one of the vacation movies?
Oh, 100%.
100%. Me too. Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Absolutely.
So he had just kicked in the fence and met
Yes.
Freddie Fernandez.
Yes, which was a good thing because he was really not feeling the vibe of moving to this place.
Right.
And so immediately he met this kid who lives right there in the apartment complex. And I think that kind of like helped him feel a little bit better, but not for long because right away he sees like the pool is awful and he gets up to their apartment and the faucet's broken. And he's trying to look for the handyman that helps fix things around the complex to come fix their faucet. And of course, he finds the handyman, which just so happens to be Mr. Miyagi. And right away, when he meets him, he comes across as kind of quiet and a little mysterious.
Yes, he definitely was mysterious. Y'all, I forgot that Mr. Miyagi was the handyman. Like
Me
until I
too.
started watching it, I just thought he was his neighbor and that's how they came together.
I totally
Yeah, he was
forgot
like
that
a
too.
complex maintenance man.
Uh-huh.
He
Yeah.
was there to like fix things and do those kind of things. Which is funny because after a while you forget that. Like you said, you didn't even realize it, but you kind of forget it. You go, man, these guys sure got a lot of time to teach karate. Like I'm sure somebody's sink needs to be fixed. What are you doing in the
Yeah,
middle
by
of
the
the day,
looks
sir?
of that place, you're right, Marcus.
I was thinking that too because it's like that's how we meet him. But then after we get past that, he's just always chilling at
Completely,
his house
yep,
teaching karate and
completely
cutting
gone.
his bonsai trees.
Yeah,
Well,
So
just the bonsai farm. Yeah.
good thing for Daniel that he almost knocked Freddie down with that gate because Freddie invites him to a beach party, which is music to a teenager's ear. And that's where Daniel first meets Allie Mills. She's the blonde cheerleader, immediately catches his eye. And so I have to ask Marcus, did you ever go to a beach party when you lived out in California and meet a blonde cheerleader who caught your eye?
I was not fortunate enough to do that.
Oh,
Um,
man.
yeah, not in the years that I lived there. I got to go back and visit and meet people, and I did go to the beaches and things like that, but never the quintessential movie scene. No.
Yeah. Well,
did
Daniel
you
meets her. I'm sorry, Amanda. Daniel meets her, and here's this kid that you think looks like junior high, but he like works up the nerve to go talk to her, and it's awkward, but it is very sweet.
it is, and she's like into it. But I have a question for you, Marcus. When you lived out there, did you live near the beach?
Yeah, about 30 minutes from the beach.
Oh, okay.
What part
Cool.
did you live in?
So I lived, so they lived in Reseda. If you think about where Los Angeles is, Reseda is just north of Los Angeles. I lived a little bit more inland and south of Los Angeles, between San Diego and Los Angeles. So
Okay.
it's called Inland Valley. Riverside County is the area where I live. So it's about 30, 40 minutes from the beach.
Okay.
Cool.
That would be close enough for me. I'd
But
take
yeah,
it even
Reseda's in the
today.
valley. Reseda is in the valley.
Living in the valley. I love it. Well, you're right, Missy. He did go talk to her. I mean, she was like giving him the eyes too, for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
But this vibe doesn't last long because Johnny Lawrence, Allie's ex-boyfriend, and let's just say the king of Cobra Kai, shows up with his crew. And they are from the get-go cool cats.
Cool
Like,
cats for sure.
they are the coolest cats. And you can tell they're like already like super aggressive. I mean, in fact, he like grabs her boombox and smashes it on the ground. And like, I don't know, just Daniel steps in to defend her, and Johnny shows off with his black belt skills and lays him out with the punch or some move. I don't know what it would be called, but they were just really aggressive and over the top.
They were.
I think it was really great how they introduced both of the characters, right? So you
Yep.
get this kind of meek and kind and playful with a coy smile, and a little bit timid but confident enough, right? To go. He's in a new place. He's like, you know what? I'm really going to give it a shot with my mom. And he sees the girl, gets extra confidence, because what guy doesn't get extra confidence when you see the pretty girl, right? And goes, okay, I want to go talk to her. And then Johnny comes in and they present him as this jerk, right? He's
Yes,
just kind of
he's a
giving Allie a
jerk.
hard time and all that, on all the forums. So I don't know. Here's a fun fact for you guys, for people that are into Cobra Kai, and do you know the TV show Cobra Kai?
I
It's
was
on
going to
Netflix.
ask you actually after when I was talking about Cobra Kai, I was going to ask you if you watch Cobra Kai.
Of course I did, because I'm a big nerd, right? But there's a whole series of people that kind of fall in line with that. Johnny was the good guy, and Daniel was the bad guy,
Yep.
because Daniel actually, like kind of made the first move and interjected and caused all this problem. And yeah, if you go back, when you go back and watch it, you can go, I, that's not how it's written. I understand how the story is presented, but you can almost kind of see the fanboys going, but Daniel started it.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know if I agree with that because there were no other boys around when he got there. He didn't know Allie was the girlfriend.
Right. Well,
Yeah, right, right.
ex-girlfriend though, right? Weren't they? I don't know. I
Yeah,
think
they
they were
were
broken
ex.
up.
They were ex.
broken
They were
up.
broken up.
But I will say this movie very much reminds me of one of another great 80s movie in a couple ways. They're not this, trust me, I'm not saying it's as good, but a little bit of like Back to the Future in the way that when we had Clifton on, he talked about this. Everything is very like clear cut in these movies of this time. Like
Yeah.
it was very clear Daniel's going to be, he's the good guy. It was very clear Johnny's the bad guy. We don't need to know why. We don't need to know the backstory. We
Right.
don't, you know what I mean? It's just all very clear cut so you can follow the story and enjoy it. And I
Yeah.
just love that.
That's
Love
so
it.
true. That's so true. Well, when Daniel the boombox thing is happening, they do actually get in a fight, and Johnny lays a punch on him, which he has to try and hide that next morning. He was so cute, I thought, in those glasses, like just trying to be cool with his mom. And his mom,
Yeah.
let me tell you, if you're a young boy and you're listening to this, you can't hide stuff like this from your mom because we always know. She knew something was up. She knew there was a reason that he was wearing those sunglasses. But you can't feel sorry for him. I mean, you can't help but feel sorry for him. It's hard enough being the new kid without showing up with a bruised face on the first day.
I know.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a stupid question, but Marcus, have you ever had a black eye?
Oh, I've had a lot of black eyes.
A lot of black eyes. That's
Yeah.
why I said
Have you
this is a stupid
really?
question.
Oh yeah, I still frequently get black eyes.
I have
I still
never
train,
been
and
I've never been hit.
Hit in the
Like I've
face.
never been no, I've never been hit. I walked once into a column in the middle of the night when I had moved my couch, and so I kind of had a black eye because of that, but I've never been hit. And you
Were they
haven't
yeah,
either,
sometimes
Amanda, have you?
no, were they
No.
purposeful hits or like just in the
You caught an
well,
elbow or
sometimes
something.
yeah, sometimes like that, right? Like you catch an elbow or a knee or something in the midst of training, right? And so my wife likes to give me a hard time. I'll get home and I'll have a scratch or a black eye or something, a little mouse, a little mouse under my eye. Sorry. And and she's like, "Oh, who kicked your butt tonight?" And I just always tell her, "Hey, babe,
Oh,
listen.
that's funny.
You know when you're watching Nat Geo and the lion is like going after the gazelle,
Yeah.
like, well, when the lion goes to pounce on the gazelle's gonna start kicking and flailing and moving. Like the lion gets hit too, you know.
Yeah,
He just
That's
takes
right.
down the gazelle
exactly.
and catches his prey. I was like, these are just little war wounds, they're little scratches. I wasn't getting my butt kicked.
I love it. Well, school does not get better from Daniel. During soccer tryouts, he gets into it with these guys again. Bobby Brown, one of Johnny's friends, and Bobby slide tackles him hard, and Daniel retaliates and punches him. But of course, guess who gets kicked off the field?
The new
Daniel.
kid. Yep.
Yep. He just can't catch a break.
I
Poor
know,
guy.
I know. And when he goes back to his apartment, he is decided I've got to defend myself with these goons, and he tries to teach himself karate out of a book. And so Mr. Miyagi is finally coming up there to fix that sink that he asked him about a couple of days ago, which,
Like
by
a
the
week
way, was
later.
spewing water like a fountain. But as he goes in there to fix it, he sees Daniel's like training quietly. And so he's just watching him, and he points out that because Daniel said he fell off a bike, right? Like that's what he
Yeah.
told his mom. That was kind of the story he was sticking to.
Yes.
And Mr. Miyagi tells him that you usually have an arm injury when you fall off a bike,
Not
not
a
a black eye, which was really a clue to how wise Mr. Miyagi was going to
Yeah.
be.
Well, that how wise he was, and also how assertive he was going to be. Like
Yeah,
you know
he
what I
wasn't going to
mean?
let it just get by.
Uh huh. Uh
Yeah.
huh. Well, at school, back at school, there is a lighter moment. Daniel and Allie run into each other in the cafeteria, and they sit together and laugh a little. And Daniel does find out officially that Johnny is Allie's ex-boyfriend. I mean, I'm sure he kind of had a clue at this point, but it's like the official finding out.
Okay, I have a question for y'all.
Okay.
Did y'all think it was weird that for the school lunch, he whips out money to pay for her school lunch?
Oh, yes.
I was like, this isn't a date. I don't know. Marcus, have you ever paid
I
for a girl's school
School
lunch?
lunch.
I didn't think about that. No, but I remember having to pay for school lunch. Yeah.
Well, for
Really?
you, but not for
Yeah,
a
but not
Yeah, but
for
not
your
as like a date.
right.
no.
Yeah,
And that's
no.
what it was like. He's like, I've got it.
Yeah, he's like, I got this for you.
Well, one afternoon, Daniel wanders into a karate dojo to check it out. It's Cobra Kai, and what he sees is intense. And that's where we meet Sensei Crease or Creasy. I'm not exactly sure how
Yep,
you
that's right.
pronounce it.
Crease, yep.
Crease. And it is, as we already talked about, that military style boot camp type of training. He's preaching no mercy. And when Daniel notices Johnny and his friends, he like, bless his heart, he's a little scared. He's like, they're going to beat my butt again. I got to get out of here.
Well, that night at dinner, Daniel and his mom Lucille, who I do love his mom.
I liked his mom too.
I've got a heart for her. Talk about their days, their new job, new school, and the blondes of California. And I loved the part where after his mom leaves the table, Daniel talks to himself, realizing that Allie's not just cute, she's definitely hot.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so cute.
Because I thought that was cute.
And this is to me another thing that, like, just talking about the clear, like, it's very clear that this is a single mom that's struggling.
Yeah.
But we don't get a whole big backstory about it, right? It's just,
Yeah, you
this
don't
is
go
what it
about
is.
what she's doing and what's her day like. No, I like the way that the storytelling stays uh, clear cut and on the main characters and the 80s. And like you said, it's uh, very clear and concise of who's who, who's doing what, where's the focus on the film, and I think that helps keep the tempo to the films in the films of the 80s.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Well, later, Daniel's riding his bike home and another sabotage. And I have to say, this scene reminded me of E.T. So we've got all kinds of reminiscent things happening, Amanda. You've said it reminded you of a couple of things, but Johnny and his gang sideswipe him in their motorcycles, knocking him down a hill. And my heart broke for Daniel in this scene. Like, when he makes it back home, he's all but in tears. He's screaming how he hates this bike. But really, y'all, what he hates where he lives. He hates this predicament. And he just throws what my boys would call a missy hissy. He's throwing himself a hissy fit. And a pity party, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Can we just talk for a minute on how he? I mean, they did such a really good job of really painting the underdog character.
Yes.
From the outset of the movie, they're pushing the car. Let's go, LaRusso, jumpstart. I've had to help push a car and jumpstart it before. That's a lower class, struggling working person kind of situation, and then he gets moved across, not working out for him. He's not making friends. He lives in a crummy apartment. He's not having a good time. He's hating what's going on. Meanwhile, we've got the rich kid. Johnny's parents probably bought all those kids those motorcycles.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're like teenagers in high school. What are they in, like 10th grade? When they're like running around in their little dirt bike gangs, jumping this guy on a poor bike. And I just think the writers did a really good job of, like, man, let's take the first 30 minutes of the film and just really show you how underdog.
Yeah, how
Daniel
hard his
is,
life
right?
was. Yeah, that's a really great point.
And it
It's a
makes you
really
love
great
it makes
point.
you love him all the more.
It
Love him.
does. Yeah, it
Because you
does.
can resonate with that.
Yeah.
How many of the people in the film, I mean, in the theater, are probably going to be like, "Oh, I've had to push a car.
Sure.
Oh, I've gone to a new school. We've moved. I've not had
Yeah.
friends."
Yeah,
This is the
it
other side
touches,
of that.
pulls all the strings. Yeah, and I'll tell you who else's heartstrings it pulled was Mr. Miyagi's, because he was standing in the shadows. Must have had a late night that night at work, but he was quietly listening and just taking all this in. And we don't know until later kind of why all this resonated with him, but like he is zoned in.
This is gonna make me cry.
Oh my
It's so
goodness. This is a
sweet.
difference for real sisters.
I
Usually I'm the
know.
one crying.
I
I
know,
will not cry in this.
I love it so much. So back at school, so of course he goes home, and then it's time he goes back to school, and he's still nursing his bruises. Allie invites him to the arcade, the cool hangout.
Yep.
But while they're there, Daniel sees Johnny and the Cobra Kai gang hanging around. And so he just kind of bails and heads home instead because he's
Yeah.
not comfortable being there with them.
No, he's not. So the next day, Daniel finds his bike. It's repaired. It's as good as new. Guess who fixed it for him, y'all?
Mr. Miyagi.
Mr. Miyagi.
That's
And
a good thing it wasn't a sink.
yeah, right. But Daniel's a good kid. He goes in to thank him and acknowledge that he had done that. And that's where Mr. Miyagi is pruning the bonsai trees. And he invites Daniel to join him. And Daniel's skeptical at first, like, I can't do it. And Mr. Miyagi works some kind of magic, telling him to picture it in his head and use patience. And it tells him about doing it in his own childhood in Okinawa, how his daddy had taught him. I thought it was a really sweet moment. And
Me
I
too.
love bonsai trees.
So there's a really great metaphor in there as well. In the action of him trimming the tree, the metaphor in there is that he's learning to shape his future, right? Like Mr. Miyagi starting to
Ah,
tell him, hey, this
so
is what
deep.
I used to do. And if you just slow down and you focus and you use your mind, you can envision, right? You can
Yes.
envision what you want the tree to be. And then a little bit at a time, snip after snip, you start to shape the vision.
Oh
And
my gosh.
that's a metaphor for him learning that, through one step at a time in process and vision, he can start to accomplish what he needs to.
I love it. I do leadership development training, and there's a leadership lesson right there. I love
Absolutely.
that.
That's so cool. This is why we had Mr. Marcus on today. Thank
That's
you very
right.
much, the expert. Well, meanwhile, so this is after he works on the bonsai tree. Daniel and Allie work together decorating for the big Halloween dance. And
Yes.
of course, Daniel doesn't plan on going. He doesn't have a costume. But he says he'd like to go if he could go as an invisible man, of course, because
Yes.
he doesn't have to
He
deal with
doesn't want to
people.
be seen
And
by the gang.
I know,
what a
I know,
creative way that they did that too,
I
right? That was
know.
really funny and creative.
It was. And so actually, Mr. Miyagi was the one who stepped in and helped him craft this really funny, but like you said, really creative, brilliant costume where he can go and not be seen in a full body shower curtain that hides him completely. But it also made me nervous because it was like so big and bulky.
I know.
I don't
I
know.
was scared he was going to knock something over, but it doesn't just hide him because at the dance, he like pulls Allie in. And I
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
tell you, for someone who looks so kiddish, he very much like he is not
Dude, he
minding taking her in
he's
his
got the slick
arms. And he
moves.
did. He had
Yeah.
the
That
moves.
because
Daniel was a
boys
little bit of a Casanova.
Yeah,
He
I thought
is.
so.
It's because boys back in the 80s and 90s, they had the moves. They weren't like, "Oh, we're going to not talk to girls until we're 17." They just jumped right
Yeah.
in.
They
They
did.
jumped right in. I loved it.
But everything took a turn when the prankster at the dance was going around putting eggs on everyone's head. He smashed an egg on Daniel's head. And so, where did Daniel have to go? To the bathroom to clean himself up. But in the bathroom, yet again, he stumbles upon Johnny. The Cobra Kai guys have just kind of left. Johnny's in the bathroom. They're all dressed up as skeletons, which was that's a scary look to me.
I thought it was too.
And they're like rolling joints in the bathroom. So
Of
things
course.
aren't going to
Yeah.
go well.
Yeah, of
Further
course
just
they do.
planting the seeds of how they're bad guys and they're not up to any good. And they even want to represent themselves as tough and bad guys when they pick their costumes, right? And so
Yep.
again, kudos to the writers and the director for the visual like representation, right?
Yep.
The things you don't have to say, but it plants those seeds in your mind. That's
Yep.
one of the things about the movie that's really great. I mean, you can watch it without the words, and you can still understand what's going on. You can see it just in behavior.
Yeah. And they were, like you said, rolling joints in the bathroom.
Yeah, smoking
Please.
free.
Well, Daniel takes this opportunity and he's like, I'm going to get a little payback. This is when I got nervous with the shower curtain. I was like, that big bulky shower curtain, this is not, you're going to bump something, something's going to happen, but it didn't. But he rigs the hose up over the stall where Johnny is in the stall and he starts to go out the door and turns it on the water. And so the water then like comes all over Johnny. I love that his name is Johnny too, like the bad Johnny. So just like that, all chaos breaks loose. And Daniel makes a run for it. Of course, it's slippery, water's everywhere, but the Cobra Kai's follow him. They know it's him and they chase him down. And like they chase him all the way home to the fence. And you think he's gonna make it. Like he's trying to get over the fence and he's almost there, and they grab him and pull him down and they start beating the snot out of
I
him.
mean, beating him up. And
Like even to the point where one of the boys was like, "That's enough, that's enough."
yeah.
And they
But guess who shows up? It's not Batman. It is Mr. Miyagi. And let me tell you, that's when we get a first real glimpse of his skills because he takes down the entire gang effortlessly. Daniel is stunned he just is like not sure what's happening. He's like, my handyman's beating up this gang. But that very night, he asked Mr. Miyagi to teach him karate.
Yeah. Yeah. And he tells him that karate is only for defense, not revenge. So what do you think about that, Marcus? Him telling him that's only, is that kind of your philosophy?
I really like the way that they presented Mr. Miyagi. He came in to the rescue, was quick and to the point, and it gave you an idea of what you could expect from him. Like, it gave some validity to this little old man who otherwise you were just looking at going, okay, that's the character. We knew who it was from the beginning. That's where the guy's going to learn karate from. But then you see it, and he takes out the punks like it was nothing, and you go, oh, man, okay, let's see what he's going to teach him. I think that was a real turning point for the audience to look and go, I want to see what this guy's got. Let's see what he turns out to do. And at the time, the perception of most of karate training was actually that of like the Cobra Kai, right? You kind of would expect karate schools to do the thing that they were doing in that scene, as opposed to what we actually start to get from Mr. Miyagi, which is a lot of chores.
That's right. That's coming.
Right.
That's coming. And because he asks him to help, and he explains that it's only for defense, not revenge, he does agree to still help him, so he can defend himself. And they make a plan to confront Johnny's teacher and the sensei, and they head to the Cobra Kai dojo the next day to make a peace offering, which is to leave Daniel alone. But
Sensei's not interested.
Sensei's not interested in that. Because he's like, no mercy.
That's right, no mercy. But Mr. Miyagi proposes a solution. He says, hey, Daniel will enter this All Valley Karate Championship to settle things fairly. And so Sensei agrees, but with a warning that if Daniel doesn't show up, the bullying is going to start. It's going to start all over again.
They can beat the dog out of him.
And guess what? Mr. Miyagi's going to be in for it too.
No.
Now, I do have a question for Marcus here.
Okay.
Marcus.
Okay.
So they're in the dojo. This gang has been beating Daniel up outside of the dojo. But when I think of karate and stuff, I really do think of it done in tournaments or in a training facility.
Mm-hmm.
Have you, and you don't have to give us all the details, we won't hold it against you, but have you had to use karate for like outside of the dojo?
Like
like in the real world.
Business. Yeah. Like in the real world.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I've been able to use it all over the place, actually. One of my least favorite portions, though, was being the guy that knows it, right? And then in your 20s, you go out and you and your friends are going out, kind of like they go out to the different events at night and stuff like that and have parties and stuff like that. And one of the worst parts about actually being the karate kid of the friend group is you have friends that are, a bunch of guys that are knuckleheads, right? And so sometimes they're like, oh, we'll be okay. No matter what happens, like we've got Marcus with us and he knows how to fight and he can just kick them and do the thing. And I was always like, yo,
no,
don't put that on my shoulders.
Right.
You do something stupid, you've got to take care of yourself. Don't expect me to karate kick somebody in the head if you do something stupid. But so that's probably the worst part of it. Whether it be like street fights or what have you, those occur. And I'll tell you what, to be the person that trains and have the skills and be able to do that thing definitely helps. It is a skill and it is a valuable one.
Yeah. Sure.
You probably gives you just like such a great confidence to walk around and feel.
Yeah, the thing that's amazing is that your body actually kind of takes over.
Mm-hmm.
And, because when there's any kind of altercation, your emotions always build up. You're always like, your heart beats a little faster, your adrenaline gets going, you're a little bit more aware of what's going on. And sometimes if it's a verbal argument first, you'll get tunnel visioned on the person that's in front of you because they're the
target,
threat, right? They're the one with all the gas, but you still have to kind of keep awareness. But once your body starts getting into the action of fighting, well, that's what you train all the time.
That's that muscle memory.
Normal thing.
Yeah, muscle memory kicks in.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah,
That's why the wax on, wax off.
that's right.
Yeah, that's why he's got to do, buff 8 cars so that he always learns how to block the right way, right? So that muscle memory will kick in.
And that's what we get into right here in the movie. He starts training immediately, but it's not what Daniel expects. Mr. Miyagi has him, like you said, waxing cars, sanding floors, painting fences, all of these quote unquote chores or tasks. But while he's doing it, Mr. Miyagi is insisting that he uses really specific movements. And Daniel kind of feels like he's been tricked into being Mr. Miyagi's handyman.
Yes. And so after days of frustration and doing it like Mr. Miyagi says, Mr. Miyagi actually reveals the truth, because all those chores were actually training Daniel's body, which, by the way, got very sore after doing all of that. And it was teaching him blocks and control and discipline, but without him even knowing it. I do remember that when I was young, before we even knew like the wax on, wax off, that we all say that now and know what it means. It was such a cool aha moment when the audience realizes that, and when Daniel finally realizes it.
For sure. Because the first time you see it, you do not, unless you've had experience. I think with Mark, you really are like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
That's, or go ahead. What were you going to say, Marcus?
The aha moment was a great reveal, right? On the deck, and he's like, show me sand the floor.
Yes.
And he like does the kicks, and then he like does the next one, and then he like puts them all together, and he's like pop, pop, up, down, left, right, block, turn, kick, and then he like stands up tall, and it's the first real like karate bow that you get from Mr. Miyagi. Because like I said, most people were probably expecting more Cobra Kai kind of training, right? Punch the floor, punch the board, and kicking back and forth and sparring, right? And that's what Daniel was expecting, and I love the way the writers wrote in that teenage doubt and frustration, right? Because he's like murmuring to himself, and I gotta do another thing. This old man's not teaching me nothing. Yeah. Right. And then he does it, and then that's the moment. In the movie, we buy in as the audience to Mr. Miyagi when he beats up the guys in the skeleton suit. But as Daniel in the movie, that's the moment he buys in. He buys in. Oh. That's right. Mr. Miyagi is like, you could see it in his face. They didn't do it exaggerated, but he almost like looked at his hands like, I just did karate.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Marcus, that we had the buy-in when we saw Mr. Miyagi defend him, but he had the buy-in at that moment.
For sure.
That's a good point. Well, the training steps up from there, and they go to the beach, and they're practicing balance and getting knocked over by the ocean waves, and Mr. Miyagi is balancing on this post on the beach. You see all the seagulls and crane, I guess they're seagulls flying around him, and he's doing this mysterious kick. And Daniel, of course, can see him, and he's really trying to soak up all of every single lesson he's getting, even if he doesn't fully realize the changes that are happening in him.
I loved all of that training in that scene where they were on the water and it was sparkly and beautiful.
It was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
There was some beautiful scenes.
There
some beautiful
really
shots.
were. And of course,
1980s. The 80s also did a really great job of montages.
Yes, right? It was a great montage. Yes.
Montages. You think about Rocky. All these like turning points in the movie, right? Like, it's coming up. They build the story, and then you get invested in the character, and then it's like blood sport, right?
That's right. That's right.
The music changes. They hit the drum beat. And then you just see them doing all the moves. And the beach scene was a great one for me because I think that was another one that for the rest of my life, if I get into a pool, I'm doing kicks. If I'm at the ocean, we go to the beach, I'm kicking in the waves and fighting my stance. And for sure.
I love it.
That affected all martial arts nerds around the world.
Love it.
I feel like when I was a kid in the 80s, now that you said that about the montage, I feel like everything was play and imagination. Like I wanted to be like I wanted a montage to happen to me. Like
In
I
life.
want
Yeah.
yeah, like I wanted to go through some sort of like scenario like that where there's like a montage in my
Yeah,
life. It didn't happen that way though.
Well, right off of the montage, there's this quiet, it's a powerful scene when Mr. Miyagi begins opening up about his time and the World War II camps. And it's heartbreaking when you learn about the loss of his wife and son. And it's just one of the most emotional scenes in the movie. And it really shows how much depth Mr. Miyagi carries beneath him and the tragedy he's had in his life, but he's just so calm, cool, and collected on the surface.
Yeah, it's very sweet and touching. I think that he shares this with Daniel.
Yeah.
It shows that they've, got a respect for each other, and he cares about him on a level of which he would want to share something about his life so personal and deep.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Daniel tries to, after this, patch things up with Allie after this misunderstanding. He was supposed to pick her up at the country club. And oh my gosh, this is such a typical 80s misunderstanding scene. Like this is
yes, it is.
So like this is so typical. So the big misunderstanding, he was supposed to come pick her up and he was waiting and waiting. He shouldn't come. So he goes through the kitchen and sees her through the kitchen doors. And when he sees her, she's dancing with Johnny. But she didn't want to be dancing with Johnny. He didn't see all that happened before, how she ended up dancing with him. And as soon as the whole thing happened with the door hits him and he gets pasta all over his outfit, he runs out and he misses the whole part where Allie like pushes him and is like, get off of me. And she doesn't want anything to do with him. But of course he's missed that. So
yeah. And it was a typical 80s play out, how, antagonistic with the other guy and the boyfriend sees, and it's a misunderstanding. You're exactly right. But they're an item now because they made up.
They did, yeah.
And Daniel's birthday rolls around, and that's when Mr. Miyagi surprised him with two incredible gifts. First, a beautiful bonsai embroidered gi, and one of his classic cars that Daniel had to wax, that bright 1948 yellow Super Deluxe.
The one that he kept.
That we talked about. That's right.
All right. Now, this is where, Marcus, I'm going to have some questions for you. Because the tournament day arrives.
Okay.
And first of all, I'm like, who knew? And this probably is going to speak to my ignorance about tournaments. I'm like, who knew that karate tournaments were such a thing? I mean, that place was packed out for the karate tournament. I was like, okay, karate tournament. I mean, is that real?
So that's real. And for the era, that probably wouldn't have been real all over. It would have been pockets of the country, but definitely
in California,
in the Los Angeles area, in Southern California. There's always been a big fitness industry in that area. The California people are generally into healthy lifestyles and fitness. And you think back since maybe the 60s, right? Where you had this infusion of like hippie culture and people out west and Hollywood, and then you start introducing these unique characters even into the era where we start to have like the Bruce Lees and such. It's had the population, it's had the desire and the willingness and openness, and martial arts have been kind of a big deal there. You have a big Chinese influence because you're on the West Coast, and you have immigrants that are coming there from China and Japan and Southeast Asia and what have you. So like where we live here in New Orleans, we have a different influence, more of a Caribbean kind of influence, if you will. But over there, they're getting a Pan-Pacific influence.
Yeah.
And so
that makes sense.
Martial arts have been a thing in Southern California for a long time, in California itself.
Well, that makes sense then, because I was like, this place is rocking for the
so that was a big
karate tournament
for them, even all the way out into now. Now, some of the biggest tournaments in the world happened in Southern California and in Orlando. And I mean, you're talking about like the wild world of sports in Disney World. Coronado Springs hosts the U.S. Open and some different championships. I mean, you can get a lot of people at tournaments. I think the biggest tournament I do is in Las Vegas in September, generally around Labor Day weekend. And last year there were 10,000 attendees.
Whoa, that's incredible. Well, that helps me understand then, because I was like, there's a lot of people there. And one of the things I loved about the tournament is we get there and Daniel is asking Mr. Miyagi all these questions, and Mr. Miyagi has no clue. He's like, never been to tournament. Like, he doesn't have a clue. And I think it is hysterical. So
Yeah.
that makes him even more of the underdog. But fight after fight, he keeps advancing. And in the semifinals, this is so cold. Bobby, who is a little bit, I mean, he's no Johnny. He's one of the Cobra Kais, but he's not as vicious as Johnny. He's ordered by Sensei to take Daniel out with an illegal hit to the knee. So basically, he's wanting him to take Daniel out so that Johnny will then win by default, basically. And Bobby does it reluctantly because he's not going to go against Sensei, no mercy. And it's so awful. And Daniel is left barely able to stand. I mean, it's
But you
awful.
see humanity in that kid at that
For
Bobby,
sure.
yeah.
He did not want to do it.
Because he feels bad about it and he didn't really want to do it. And that's where the wartime guy of the character comes in. But I just want to back up a second and go,
Okay.
Daniel would not be in that division at all. He's a white
we
belt.
have to suspend
Mr.
reality.
Miyagi just reaches into his backpack and like pulls out a black belt and he's like, today you black belt.
Yes.
Right? Like, dude, I've been training for like 3 months. Okay.
Yeah.
These guys have been doing this for at least
Their
a
whole
couple
life.
of years. Usually, like for karate at the time, I would say probably 3 years to become a black belt, maybe 4. Today, most people get a black belt in like 2 years, maybe 3. That would be considered a long time in karate, which kind of has diminished the value of it. One of the things I do is teach jiu-jitsu. It took me 11 years to get a black belt, right? So there's still some pockets of these things that take a long time. But in the era that we're talking about, 1980-something, 84, right? Like being a black belt was still like a big deal. You put in a lot of training to get to your black belt.
I forgot about that.
I did too. And I didn't really understand why he did. I just thought he didn't have a belt to tie it up.
No.
Yeah. And realistically,
now I get it. Yeah.
I think Mr. Miyagi, we didn't see this. If you had a cut scene that ended up on the floor somewhere of the editing room, it was like Mr. Miyagi walks in, Daniel goes and checks in. He goes to get his weigh in, right? Because you got to weigh him. They're going to have like a skill class and a weight class. And the scene that ended up on the editing floor is Mr. Miyagi walks over to the apparel table where they're probably selling T-shirts and stuff. And he's like, 1 black belt, please. Because he doesn't even have a black belt to give him,
That's right. I forgot about that. That's a really funny point. That's true.
It really is. It really is.
But to what you said, Missy, you do see the humanity here. He doesn't want to do it. And you can see actually all the boys kind of like questioning Sensei. Like, that doesn't seem like a very honorable thing to do. Like,
no mercy, though.
That seems to lack integrity. You can tell they're questioning his integrity.
Yeah, for
and that's
sure.
the child in the characters too,
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
They're still boys.
Well, when this happens and he gets, taken out and you go into the locker room, Daniel's ready to quit, but Mr. Miyagi helps him through that traditional pain suppression technique, whatever that was. It wasn't acupuncture. It was something mysterious, right?
It was woo-woo.
Yeah, it's one of the many hidden skills he has. But anyway, he does it. Daniel is able to get up. He limps back out just in time before they called Johnny as the winner by default.
And here we are, y'all. The final match between Daniel and Johnny. And it's intense. Like, we are here for it. I can remember the excitement of this moment, y'all. Like the first time seeing it and just being on the edge of my seat. Blood, sweat, sheer determination. It's all there. And Johnny actually, because the coach tells him to, he hurts his leg even more. And Eric explained this to me. Marcus, you can tell me if this is correct, because I didn't understand why he was not getting points or whatever. And Eric said because the points are for like the waist up or something, or chest up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, okay, well then that makes sense. Cause I was like, shouldn't he have won
So in
from
the
that?
tournament, they'll have points and strikes,
Uh-huh.
right? And so like 3 strikes and you're out. And so what they were doing was like scoring enough to kind of keep the match competitive, but then it was like score a point and then hit him where it hurts and just take the strike, right? Just to keep him from fighting too hard. But yeah, so you get strikes for like below the belt or striking to the back.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I think they couldn't punch to the face, but they could kick to the face, right?
Right. Well,
kind of
obviously.
So,
Yeah.
Well, even though his leg gets hurt, he is not going to give up. He summons everything he's learned, and this is where we get to see the crane kick.
Finally.
He takes his pose just like the crane, and boom, he does the pop with his foot and pops him in the face, and he wins the championship.
It was like this perfect full circle moment, right? Johnny, who started the movie as Daniel's biggest enemy. I loved it when he hands Daniel the trophy himself.
Yeah,
He's
gives
just
him the
like,
trophy.
dang, you have worked for this. We've hurt you. We've intentionally tried to hurt you in unprofessional ways, and you won this. Daniel has not only won the tournament, he has won the respect of his rivals. And Mr. Miyagi watches proudly, knowing that his student found the balance in his life. He's happy, he's healthy, not just in karate, but in his relationships, and everybody's cheering. And it was a fantastic moment.
And then we got to go to Karate Kid Part 2. All right. So, what do we think? How does this measure up? Does it stand the test of time? And do we still think the same now about it as we did back then when we saw it?
So I think it absolutely stands the test of time. I think generations have already watched it. Here we are now, 40 years later, and group of kid after group of kid. It's almost like a rite of passage movie.
Totally.
Yes.
Say you get to like 9 or 10 and kids find this, maybe 11, and kids start finding this movie and then they're all into it, right? It shapes them. It still has a powerful message. It's still such a good message of like doing the right thing, working hard, and believing in yourself, not giving up when things are hard. That moment in the tournament when he's hurt and he's down and he's out, and Mr. Miyagi's like, focus, Daniel-san, focus, right? Like
yes.
That's something about that resonates with kid after kid. Every time they watch the movie, anybody that watches it just goes, oh, wow, what a powerful moment. Does it stand the test of time? Yes, absolutely. Cinematography wise, yeah, sometimes you still watch it and you go, okay, it's an 80s movie, right?
But it is beautiful. It has some beautiful shots.
But it was great.
Yeah.
It has some great shots. It is a quintessential 80s movie.
It is, and it must stand the test of time because they've got another version of it that's coming out like in the next week or so.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Another version of the film.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that they made.
Well, I don't know if it's another version of the film or another.
Like a part 3?
Another part, yeah, because Ralph is in it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's in press right now.
And then we've got Cobra Kai, the show, that also was a huge success.
A lot of people watch that as well.
That's been a huge resurgence in the last 5 years, I think. That show's been out now.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed watching it. I've watched it with my kid. We've watched all the different seasons. It has all the corny nostalgia of the original. We've seen all the Karate Kid movies. They all come with a different message, and it's been really fun to share that franchise with my children, having watched it as a child. So I think that speaks to the value of the film franchise, and like you said, they're coming out with another one, and now they're blending together Ralph and Jackie Chan, who was the Chinese, Karate Kid teacher to Jaden Smith, and so they've had movie after movie of these, and I think it's just such a fun, good, wholesome movie that gives you such good messages.
Yeah. I say the lessons are timeless. So yes, I think it does. What about you, sister?
Oh, absolutely. And I love that. Just the thought about the message, the nostalgia, a little bit of corniness. But
cheese, as we say.
Yeah.
Well, before we head out, we want to give a big thanks to Marcus, who helped make us sound way better than we actually are when it comes to anything karate or sports, etc. We really appreciate you being here with us, Marcus.
Thank you for having me on. Yeah. I've enjoyed it. It's been so fun.
Thank you so much. I loved all your little tidbits about the movie and all of your martial arts expertise. So thank you so much for doing this with us. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. I'd love to come back if you do any on war stuff. Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
We'll
have to remember that. Well, we're actually about to give our listeners 3 clues for our next movie. So you'll have to see if you can guess it, but don't say it out loud.
Okay,
don't say it out loud. All right, Amanda.
All right. So it is time for the 3 clues for your next movie. So put your thinking caps on, real fans.
Okay. So can I give the first clue, sister?
Yes.
The movie kicks off with a family road trip that doesn't exactly go according to plan.
Clue number 2, a certain station wagon with a whole lot of luggage becomes almost as famous as the characters themselves.
I see Marcus shaking his head. Don't give it away, Marcus. This is your last clue, real fans. It features a disastrous stop at a theme park that, let's just say, is not very magical.
And it is iconic.
Yes.
If you think you know what it is, make sure to tune in next week when we hit the road with one of the most iconic family comedies of all time.
Thanks for hanging out with us today, everyone. We loved getting to rewind The Karate Kid with you.
And don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share Real Sisters Rewind with all your fellow movie lovers. Bye, y'all.
Bye.